Finding opportunities as Bitcoin bulls stampede towards the all-time high. Oh my, what a morning we are having. What a start to the week we're having. My gosh. Hey guys, it's Keith Allen. Hope you are printing some green P&L at this point. The long-awaited move above just crazy resistance walls has passed, and the all-time high is coming into focus rapidly, very rapidly, maybe even a little too rapidly. We'll get into that and a whole lot more. Major dynamic shifts in the order book, and we're going to look at that to kind of show you how this move has been developing, what the potential opportunities might be ahead, what the risks are ahead. This is kind of a time when when price is moving this fast, people FOMO in, people make mistakes, people get impatient, and well, I don't want it to happen to you. I don't want it to happen to me either. Sometimes it does. That's the nature of the beast. But and again, in today's analysis, we're going to do our best to identify those opportunities, mitigate some risks, and see, actually look at a couple ways that we can find buying opportunities for those who may still be trying to buy into Bitcoin. And trust me, it's not too late. It's certainly not too late. There's a lot of upside potential here in the long term for Bitcoin. We're going to have some volatility here over the next week for sure, and probably beyond that. We've got so many factors that could be potential catalysts for price action. Obviously, the elephant in the room is the election, which is now 1 week away. We have heaps of economic data coming out daily between now and then. And we also, of course, have a monthly close right around the corner coming on Thursday. So each of those things could be a catalyst for price action in either direction. And quite frankly, the order book is set up for volatility in both directions as well. So without further ado, I guess we should climb in and take a peek at the charts. Of course, if you like the streams, goes without saying, do me a favor, do us all a favor, smash all the buttons, especially make sure that you hit that subscribe button, that little bell up there on YouTube in the corner if you're watching on YouTube. By the way, for you YouTube viewers, appreciate having you guys along for the ride. Live chat is open. So if you'd like to chime in, if you have questions, you got insight you want to share, I'd love to hear from you. By all means, keep the comments coming. And so now with that, let's go ahead and climb into the charts. We're going to start here on the candle chart so we can kind of look at these key levels that have been crossed, what is coming into focus, and where we might go from here. So let's get the screen. There we go. We'll start here on the I'm actually on the monthly chart. Yeah, this is what October looks like. So yes, it was a real thing, right? It did. October dreams seem to be coming true here. As you can see, trend precognition signals have kind of noted that way. We had that double bottom here, which was very good coming off of those death crosses. And yesterday we talked about the fact that we actually have golden crosses. We've had a series of golden crosses, namely between the 21-day moving average and the higher time frames, right? So we crossed the 50, we crossed the 100, we've crossed the 200, and now we are looking at the 50-day moving average, which is previously golden crossed the 100, and now on Sunday we crossed above the 200-day moving average. These, of course, are lagging indicators, but an indication that things are trending in the right direction. And if that isn't enough of a clue for you, maybe these green celery sticks are. So yeah, big moves yesterday. It was like a 3% move, and that in itself, not a huge deal. Like a 3% move is not a certainly not unheard of in crypto. That's pretty much the norm on a volatile day. But what is a big move and what is big news is that we not only have we RS flipped this level here, the 2021 mid-cycle top. And by the way, if you wonder why I always refer to these levels by their historical name rather than their price, it is for that very reason, to help you understand what makes these levels technical resistance or support. Um, and one is that this was the 2021 mid-cycle top where we had this distribution range. Um, and obviously we then went to the, wow, has my stuff moved around? What is going on with my chart? No, we're good. Okay. I'm just had a temporary freak out. Thought I might have moved my lines. No, we had, so the 2021 mid-cycle top, which actually dates back to an earlier time when, gosh, I'm having some problems controlling the charts today. What's up, Keith? Let's bring it in. Let's bring it in. Okay. So, as you can see, we had, I guess those lines got extended somehow much further, but our 2021 top. Oh, here we go. There we go. Was back to here. This was the mid-cycle top where we had that first distribution, first set of distribution happening. Price dumped. We had a distribution rally. Things came back up, and we set a new all-time high here at 69K. So yeah, that 69K has been even stronger resistance for a really long time, since back in 2021 when it was the top. We nosed above it here. Obviously, February, March, we created that new all-time high just before the halving, and then things broke down from there. We finally, after, I mean, look at how many times we engaged with this 2021 top at 69K, and finally, we seem to be breaking above that. Now, here's where things get a little squirrely for me. In the healthiest environment I can imagine, what I've been calling for and looking for months and months and months, ever since we lost these levels, was to consolidate above the mid-cycle top, which we did. We actually retested support, not once, but twice. And then we moved up. What I would like to see before we break this all-time high is to consolidate in this range above the 2021 top, come back and retest support, and then work our way up. Now, what we have also achieved today, which is really important, is printing a higher high, right? We had been working this series. Let me go ahead and turn off trend precognition now, so we can clean up the chart a little bit. We had worked through this series. Obviously, we had lower highs and lower lows, and that went on for months and months and months. We bottomed out here on that wick down, that August 5th wick that took us down to sub 50K levels. We found this double bottom here. And if you're not seeing the double bottom like this, let me just show you how I determined that double bottom. We move to the line chart, and we can see perfect double bottom here at that level, which actually is just sub 54K. And since then, we've had higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, and now we've gone after the most important or significant higher high, which was at this 72K level, really just below it. And now it looks like price is eyeing up this all-time high at 73K. Could we break it today? Absolutely. Could we reject from there today? Absolutely. Anything is possible. And with all of these variables we have coming up, I think it's likely that we're going to get something that triggers a move to not necessarily dump it, but at least get a dip. And with the FOMO that these moves create, we may not get as deep of a dip as we'd like. Now, how low could it go if we do get a dip? What kind of targets could you look at? Or I'm not even going to say what targets should you look at. I'm going to tell you what targets I'm looking at. And the targets I'm looking at typically involve a degree of technical analysis. And for me, I like all of the prior levels. Okay. There is certainly no guarantee that we're going to go back down to this trend line. I mean, that would be the foundational support, which would be epic. That's down at the 50K level. Do I have a bid there? Yes. Do I anticipate it getting filled? The probability of that is getting smaller and smaller every day. So keep that in mind. Up from there, 58K, this 58 to 60K range was very important for a long, long time. this has been a level that has been retested a couple of times now. Oh, excuse me, didn't mean to do that. We'll go back to that weekly chart. This is a level that's been tested once, twice, three times, and that looks like strong support to me. And of course, this 21-week moving average, one of my favorites. You see, we've had consolidation around this level here for several weeks now, and we are finally printing. Last week was our first full candle body completely above that 21-week moving average. You see, we had just a little tiny wick here. And so this is our first candle body above the 21-week and also above the 21 mid-cycle top. So despite that being a red weekly candle, I'm pretty happy with how that candle ended up. It closed just shy of 68K. So now imagine a close here, whether it's a weekly close. The weekly close is going to coincide. The monthly close is on Thursday. If we got a monthly close above 69K, that would be a big deal. Because it shows that we are, we're grinding up in the right direction. We're taking out important levels. Likewise, a close above this 71.9 level or 72K would also be important. And, there would certainly be significance if we closed above the all-time high and start moving into price discovery. So, as I mentioned before, what concerns me is a series of straight rips that don't get retested. Historically, these big long candles eventually retest, and we went a long time this year. We had many levels that never got retested. Okay, starting from this foundation at 25 to 30K, that breakout never got retested, and that's been in a lot of technicians' mine included, throughout the year. I really wanted to see that happen. It didn't happen. The one I expected the most was probably this 40K level, and it didn't happen. And, the longer we spend above this and the longer that, as the trend line moves above that level, it's less likely that we go there. We did finally get this retest at the 50K level, and that happened down here. So we do have that, that we can put in the books and say, okay, this level did have a valid retest, and now we're moving up from here. So I guess this retest kind of supersedes going back down to these levels. This is, that's the retest. This is local support bottom, or our local bottom, I should say. And our support levels are around these key moving averages and these prior levels that we're attempting to validate an RS flip on now. I would say at this stage, the RS flip at this mid-cycle top is valid. We've not yet gone long enough to validate the RS flip at the 2021 top. It takes more than one candle to do that. And so you can see price still pushing higher here. And I want to show you now the dynamic. We're going to switch to the dynamic in the order book and FireCharts to show you how we got here and how fast we could potentially leave this level. And that potential exists in both directions. And I'm going to show you why. Let's switch over to FireCharts now. And you can see that price has worked its way. We talked about this for a long time. We talked about the fact that this big wall of resistance needed to erode for price to move up. And there's a number of ways that erosion could happen. Orders could get filled, orders could get pulled, orders could get moved. And we've seen a little bit of each of those things transpiring here over the past few days. And now, as we sit, I could tell you from what I've calculated, and I'm not sure if it's still going to show up here on the chart. Okay, we're just barely here to the end. This was at one point, and we could see it on the higher time frame. This was hundreds of millions in ask liquidity overhead. Right? You can see 123 million there and another, 63 million stacked below it. 180. Okay. So that got up to like 186 million in ask liquidity overhead. So note that as I move into different time frames, these the size of these blocks are going to differ a bit. But let's just say, for all intents and purposes, we're you know right around that level. As we zoom in, we can see that gets smaller, right? It shows up here as 90 million and 53 million, et cetera, et cetera. And that's because the binning of these levels is different in different time frames. So what we saw yesterday was a series of buying uh, that took out I mean, like, super, super aggressive. You can see here, all order classes were buying rather aggressively. And this level, as you can see, I'll switch over to the absolute CVD and we can see the value, the cash value of these moves now, right? By now, all of these are individual order classes. Obviously, the blue one is the cumulative of all order classes combined. That's the true CVD. And so here you could see we were net down about what before that move happened and things got taken out, 175 million to the negative in terms of what had been sold in that 7-day period. And things started moving quick. I mean, real quick. And boom, not only did we go from 175 million from the downside, 175 million negative, we went positive. So well over 200 million taken out here uh, yesterday. And obviously, we've seen things move up from here. Now, today, we saw a little bit of shifting of liquidity, a little bit more shifting of liquidity, I would say. As you can see, notice here, we're not seeing the big buys, right? We're seeing some steady incremental buys, but we're not seeing huge volume at this point. And the reason for this is because, well, hang on a second. I'm not going to say we're not seeing huge volume because we are seeing significant volume, but you can see the liquidity in between these areas has thinned out. So it's easier to pass through these areas when liquidity is thin, and especially when liquidity moves. And it looks like right here we actually did see a bit of a roof pull where a block of this liquidity started stair stepping up. It moved before it got hit. It started stair stepping up, um, and that made it easier for price to move up with it. Now you see us running into resistance here at this 73K level. And that's only, at this point, 27 million doesn't seem like a lot for one level here because of the way, normally that would be a lot. But as much as it's been getting consumed here, it's not a lot. And as we switch back over to the normalized view of the CVD, you can see the buying continues into these levels, and support is moving up to hold that level up here and push through. Now, here's where the concern is. This is very, very thin to the downside. It would take nothing to dump back down to this level, to any of these levels. It's super, super thin. I'll increase the contrast here with the volume percentile filter, and you can see it. You can see it better. There is some liquidity there, but it's not a lot, right? At 68K, there's less than 10 million. At 69K, less than 5 million. At 70K, another 4.5, 5 million, right? And there's some stacked around it, right? That's insulating a little bit. But the point is, the free fall from where we sit now could come very, very rapidly. Now, bulls obviously want to, trying to push things up, but know that there's always a gotcha in there, right? There's going to be late longers. There's going to be impatient shorters. And I'm telling you, at this stage, while I do, I'm hoping for a pullback, I'm hoping for a correction, I'd be really careful about shorting here in this environment. Looks like we got some comments in the mix here. So let me see if I can chime in here. Jones, appreciate having you with me. Thanks for following. Lassie, what do y'all think is going bearish on all-time high for a little time? What do y'all think? Is it going to go bearish on the all-time high for a little time? That would be healthy. There's not real, how should I say, a lot of great decision making going on now. Seasoned traders are making good decisions, retail's making bad decisions, and you and what I'm hoping to do for you is at least arm you with some information to help you make better decisions. So Lassie's asking how big resistance is. We've been talking a little bit about whether things will cool off, and right now things are coming to a boil. So um, I would not discount the possibility of getting up, sniffing up closer to that all-time high, potentially even wicking past it, FOMOing more people in, FOMOing some shorts in, and then a potential pullback. Or, you know, um, with economic data coming out, we had a bit today. We have really more important stuff happening Thursday and Friday, as well as next week. Monday, we've got some big stuff coming up. Let's actually take a quick look at what we have happening today. We had retail inventories, red book year over year actually came out strong. That's positive. That's basically same store sales across the country for about 9,000 large retailers in the U.S. Um, that number looks good. Um, Housing prices index. This dude would like to see housing prices come down so I could buy one soon. Um, Jolt's job openings. So and quits. Looks like close to forecast here on quits. Openings a little lighter than forecasted, which is, I guess, something that is going to translate as we come to Thursday's job cuts um, and jobless claims, et cetera, et cetera. We also have core PCE coming in. And then on Friday, this would be a big one, November 1st, non-farm payrolls and unemployment. That's really going to be something that Fed watchers are watching very, very closely. And coming straight into the election, that will be important to watch. So back to Lassie's question about how much liquidity is there, how big is resistance? Well, at this moment, 26 million, right at 73K, right? And another 14.5 below it. So it's insulated, right? There's 26 and 30, about 40 million, right? And if we move past that, there's a gap. Then we move into that, here's our all-time high. And then we'd have to break that all-time high. It's another, what do we got? 10, 15, 20. We'll call it 25, 30, 40, another 50 million to that 74K mark. And so this is just on one exchange, right? This is just on Binance. If we get past that, we've got psychological resistance at 75K, and that's another 27 million there. And from here, we're going into price discovery. So there is some resistance coming into play here. We've seen some roof pulls already, and chances are we could see more of that as price continues to push north, if you will. But as I've said from the start, I really am hoping for a retest, not just for the buying opportunity, but also to validate this move more, right? Again, these straight lines tend to not be super sustainable. So a consolidation above this 2021 top would be good. And a retest of support at some point in time would be good. I would be very happy to see this pattern, a similar pattern to this, play out here before we move past this all-time high. But gosh, looking at things right now, it's hard to expect that to happen. So we covered that. Simmons, nice to have you with me. Howdy, my friend. Lassie's asking Simmons, what do you think? Why isn't no one answering? I answered you, man. Patience, Lassie. Patience, young Lassie. Crackdown says Coinbase earnings tomorrow. I'm guessing they're doing pretty good at this point, and considering the fact that they're also custodian for most of the ETFs. ETFs are soaring right now. At least the Bitcoin ETFs are. Significant inflows here these past few days. Past 4 days have all been net positive. Yesterday, a big day at 479 million, anchored, of course, by BlackRock, who's really trying to own the space here. ETH ETFs, ugly, just plain ugly. at this point. Still a significant asset, but really, really performing poorly. Um, Back to the charts here, and back to how we might start finding opportunities. So for me, as I showed you, I like to do the TA and work off TA, but I also work off of FireCharts, Liquidity, and I work off MTF mean reversion signals to find those locations, and we're going to look at some of the things that I'm using to see if that helps you out as well. We talked already about these potential levels to find potential buying opportunities. I think if we got below 69K, that would absolutely be a gift at this point. Um, I do have bids laddered all the way down, just in case that opportunity presents itself. Maybe a black swan circles, but um, I'm prepared to buy the dips, and so I can identify for those who aren't adept at technical analysis. Obviously, you can see where the most significant support levels are currently. We've got some support in this near range, trying to prop things up here, but it also goes deeper, right? 70K has some support. I think I'm need to refresh this. We see some support at 70K, maybe keeping 69K insulated, but there's not a ton, right? It's not enough that you would say, okay, this is going to hold. It's only going to hold if the market really wants it to hold. Simple as that. Because when yesterday somebody posted that, hey, I've never seen one of these white walls taken out. Well, the white walls get taken out when the market's ready to take them out. I can remember back in 2020 when we broke through that long time resistance at 20K. Similar set of circumstances. There was like 160 million in ask liquidity overhead, and it dissipated in hours. I mean, like boom, came through it. So when the market is right, when the market's ready for it, it happens. So as you can see here, there is a little bit of support at the 72.5 level. And we don't see much more until we go deeper. Okay. A little bit of support at 71, a little bit at 70. I mean, we're talking about 4.5 million. It's nothing. So a flush down to 68K would take very, very little for that to happen. And it can happen. But as you can see, we can also see some asks floating higher and floating higher. So you just got to be, it depends on what your strategy is at this point. Are you trading? Are you investing? And if you're investing for the long haul, you can DCA your way into a position like this, either using technical analysis, using levels that you can identify in FireCharts, or any liquidity, order book map, like, per se. And of course, the other one I'm partial to is the MTF mean reversion indicator, which you can adjust for volatility. This was a 2% deviation. It's the last dip we had down to 65K, and as you can see, that moved back into profit nicely. Now above 10% profit. If you wanted more frequent signals, you could go to a lower deviation. Let me show you what 1% deviation looks like versus 2%. Okay. There's a 1% deviation. You can see much more signals, but when you're dollar cost averaging your way down, it works out nicely. And so when I'm using this, I don't go all in on one signal. I buy incrementally. I buy a little bit here, 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 I buy a little bit here. And, and so it requires managing your stack, obviously, but those obviously pay off. Likewise, if you want to be more conservative and you don't want as many signals, you want to go bigger, you're going to wait for deeper signals, and you're going to go bigger on those signals because you're going to get fewer of them, then you can adjust your deviation accordingly. I don't know when the last time we had a 3% deviation was. Let me see if I can find one for us real quick. That may not be a real viable range at this point, because we haven't hit that level, at least not in the last couple of weeks anyways, right? TradingView gives us a limited view of only 2 to 3 weeks with this indicator. But as you can see, The 2%, we only got one 2% deviation in that time frame, and uh, but we got a whole lot more in that lower deviation, right? We got a lot more signals here in the 1%. So let's just clean these out a bit so you can make some sense of that and see that um, we do indeed, uh, get some drawdown, especially with those lower deviation signals. But with a little bit of patience and managing your stack well to dollar cost average your way through, those turn profitable. And now we're breaking out the top, right? 72,800, and we're knocking on 73K right now, guys. Um, we got the tools. If you're interested in them, by all means, check them out at materialindicators.com. Lots of comments in here, so I'm going to try and address as many of these as I can. Santos, always good to have you here, brother. I got to do some occasional collabs with some well-established YouTubers in the space to boost the channel. I appreciate that suggestion. I do collab from time to time with some different folks, including the Trading Parrot, who's has been a great source, and with the crew from Carbon DeFi. We typically do a weekly. Actually, we typically do it today, but we had to reschedule this week's. But that's a good suggestion. I'll look for more of those opportunities to do. I can't even, not even going to attempt to pronounce what that name is, but good midnight to you wherever your time zone is. We are 1 o'clock in the afternoon here in sunny Miami, Florida. Lassie, think we'll see 75 and come back to around 68. That would be fantastic, man. I certainly do think that there's going to be some people caught off guard here, and that's why I say don't FOMO in. Alexander says 74K. Many will take profit. Listen, I hope that you do take profits along the way, guys. Unrealized gains don't do you any good. I'm not of the Michael Saylor camp, by the way. I do think it's important to own Bitcoin, but I'm not in the never ever sell place. Lastly, saying not enough resistance yet there, maybe, perhaps, right? This is, like I said, it's thin and it's easy to get through, right? The gaps, especially, should alert you to the fact that there's through these areas where there's liquidity, there's very thin liquidity in between those areas. So price can move through those darker areas very, very easily. Let's go for let's take it to the daily chart and we can zoom in a little bit. You can see we're about to take out this level. We're going to have a rapid rise right up to nose up to the all-time high. So the bets are we going to make a new all-time high today, or is there going to be a rejection from that all-time high? I would think it's probably going to trigger some algos, but who knows, man? I mean, this is the Wild West of crypto. We're watching it unfold right before our eyes. Do you think this pump is driven by U.S. election? I'm sidelined. There's certainly some influence and speculation over the election coming into play here. We talked about that a week or so ago. I don't think that's the greatest thing to speculate on, but nonetheless, it seems to be happening. We also have price jockeying for a monthly close here in a couple of days, and we've had some good economic data today. So between the positive economic data, we always see volatility around the monthly close. And we typically see volatility around elections, although it's been 4 years since we've had one. This one is particularly interesting because of the dynamic between the candidates. And of course, one is very, very, at least claiming to be pro-crypto. And the market seems to think he's going to win. And also seems to think that he's going to be the Bitcoin Messiah, which I'm telling you, he's telling you whatever he thinks you want to hear to get your vote and to get your Bitcoin donations. So take that for whatever for what it's worth. I think regardless of who wins this election, in a few months, Bitcoin is going to return to its normal trajectory. Now, let's imagine if Trump wins and we see price continue to spike, especially with the kind of trajectory that we're on right now, this horizontal crazy rip that we're seeing. I think that correction is going to be hard and fast. If Harris wins, I think we're going to see a pullback. It'll be a knee jerk reaction to the election. I think we'll see a pullback. I think we'll have lots of uncertainty and doubt and chaos in the U.S. over the election because we know it's going to be challenged by a certain orange guy. And that's going to make things a little nasty here through through the inauguration, which is in January. So plenty of time for volatility, plenty of time for price to shake out another group of investors and traders. So those are all things that are certainly valid and come into play here. I see. Crazy that it's like around 900 till we hit all time high. Yeah, I mean, like, did you see this come last Friday? Did you think this was going to happen today? Julian digging for crypto. Meanwhile, Trump's media company grew a couple of times in the last few months and is expected to double by elections. Right. And then what happens if he loses? Then it's just going to crash and burn and go to zero. To be honest, I started slowly scaling out of my leverage position since yesterday. So above all-time high, I have only spot. What's, of course, the biggest position. Good. I'm also spot only. But that's not a surprise to anybody. I never trade leverage. Man, this has been an awesome stream, guys, and I appreciate all of the comments. If you guys have anything else, pop it in there. If you haven't done so yet, do me a favor and smash those buttons. Hit the likes. If you're watching on Twitter, that's right, it's Twitter. We all call it Twitter. If you're watching on Twitter, share a comment there, and I will look forward to reading your comments and engaging with you there. And again, be sure and subscribe so you never miss any of the streams. Exciting day, guys, for sure. As I see things develop, I will do my best to keep you informed of what's going on. I'm going to let you know right now. I'm headed out tonight for a night of live music, so we could, that's probably when things will really start moving, is when I'm out away from screens. But just know what your invalidations are, know what your targets are, and you should be in pretty good shape. I think we've given you some things to think about. Again, if you're interested in any of the tools like FireCharts or the MTF mean reversion indicator, you can check those out at materialindicators.com. Thanks again, guys, for all of the comments and the support. I appreciate you wholeheartedly. I'm going to leave you with a parting shot of FireCharts. You know what? Real quick, I like looking at this daily chart just to show you the intraday volatility, but I do want to zoom out one time just to see if we have any major changes in liquidity, and kind of the broader spectrum. And we do see that we have a ladder of asks floating higher up to that 80K range. And, I expect to see this continue, right? Our best support is down here, looks like at the 65, 66K level in terms of bid liquidity. And toughest resistance is where we sit right now here, right? Heading into the all-time high which currently sits at 73,794 on this exchange. Might be a few bucks different where you're watching, but nonetheless, pretty exciting that we are approaching this level. And as I've said all along, I really, really want to see a pullback, a consolidation here, and then eventually a retest before we continue in this next leg up. I just don't know if we're going to get it. Maybe tomorrow we'll talk about potential upside targets once we get into price discovery mode. That sounds like a good topic of discussion for tomorrow's stream. Thanks again, guys. Have a fantastic day. Hope you are printing green P&L. And as always, trade safe, my friends.